Hello, everyone. Welcome back. I am Tom Worsnop, Product Marketing Manager for Festo North America. I handle the servo drives, motors, and electromechanical actuators. And today I am very excited to present our stainless steel electric cylinders as well as servo motors. I want to start by showing you the products in action. That way you have a sense of what we're talking about as we go through this video. So over here, you can see I've got an EPRF electric cylinder, our EMMH electric servo motor, a parallel kit connecting them, and then the motor cable. All of these are IP69K Washdown, hygienic design, food grade. Everything is fully designed with food grade washdown, clean in place in mind. So let's take a look at these. So nice and zippy. You get a sense of what these products are like. In this video, I'm going to present you with an overview of hygienic design. So what does the food industry expect from these kinds of products? And then we're going to get into the products themselves. Let's begin with some highlights. So first and foremost, as I just said, these are all designed for hygienic applications, and specifically IP69K Washdown being the primary feature. They offer excellent performance. For example, if we look at the electric cylinders, the biggest size supports feed forces up to 12.5 kilonewtons, speeds up to 1 meter per second, and lengths up to 1 meter. With the range of products that we're offering in this series, you can do a wide range of applications. They're designed for food handling specifically, but they can be used in pharmaceuticals as well as other corrosive applications. When you order from Festo, you're getting the complete servo solution. That means the electric cylinder, the motor mounting kit, the motor cable, and the servo drive. That can all be part of the complete package. Our products are very competitively priced, and we offer excellent delivery. I'll say a little bit more about that later on as well. So let's get into it. What is hygienic design? And so there's basically three design principles that I want to talk to you about. The first of these is cleanability and surface quality. And so the idea behind this is that you want to design a product that is easy to clean and it has a smooth surface finish, right? It makes it easy to wipe down, easy to spray down. The second aspect is drainability. And so here, crucially, you don't want anywhere for dirt, biofilms, water, anything to accumulate, right? The idea is that when you wash this thing down, everything is able to drain off of it. And so you have a clean product after the end of your cleaning process. And then the last piece of this is material selection, right? So when you're designing a hygienic product, you are really designing it to be food safe and corrosion resistant. Those are the two primary concerns from a material selection standpoint. And for more information about hygienic design as well as other products, we have a landing page where we discuss the Food Safety Modernization Act. I'll link that in the description below. So let's start with the first two of these design criteria, cleanability and drainability. So when you're designing for cleanability and drainability, there's a bunch of specific design goals here, right? So let's take them on one by one. I'm going to break this down into four pieces. So we've got surfaces as well as the fasteners. They must be smooth and sealed, right? I said that earlier, with the addition here being the sealed. So for example, this bolt, you can see this blue seal here. That's designed to keep water or bacteria or dirt from getting inside of the inside of that threaded hole there. You don't want any crevices or cavities where water, bacteria, or anything else can accumulate. You can see over here on this standard design where we're using like a hex bolt. Well, that creates a crevice, a cavity where bacteria or dirt or what have you can accumulate. You can see the same thing here. It's just a channel where water can build up. You also don't want to use any sharp corners, like you can see here. Sharp corners are generally harder to clean, and that's places where bacteria can grow, so you don't like those. Instead, you want to go for nice, smooth transitions, like these radii shown here. And then lastly, no exposed threads. And this is internal threads, which there's an invisible here, but the idea is you'd never have a bolt hole with threads on the inside that you would leave exposed because that's very hard to clean out. And then same thing, you wouldn't want external threads. It's hard to clean those off. So in general, you always seal off your bolts and make sure there's no access to any of that. The third part of the hygienic design is material selection. And the crucial part of this is that you want to make sure you're using corrosion resistant as well as food grade materials. Specifically, that's going to include things like high grade stainless steel. 316L is sort of the gold standard when you're talking about use in a food grade environment. 316L offers exceptional corrosion resistance, so that means you're not going to get any rusting. So this is your sort of best option for stainless steel materials. It is better for food safety and longevity when you compare it versus 304 stainless steel, which is a lower grade and lower cost stainless steel option. But typically, if you're in a food zone or above a food zone and you want to make sure that you're not getting any kind of corrosion, then 316L is the better option. And that's all of this is with the reducing the risk of food contamination, having that in mind. When you go over to the non-stainless steel materials, things like the seals on an actuator, seals on a motor, then you're starting to look at materials like the thermoplastic elastomer, TPU, the vinyl methyl silicone, that's our VMQ, and then the hydrogenated nitrile butadiene rubber. So these are all materials that we use in our products, and I'll point those out as we go through the products themselves. And there are others as well. And these materials are kind of like miracle materials. They're extremely durable, resistant to food exposure, wear, any kind of chemical agents, as well as moisture. So they're really well suited for corrosive environments like a food application. And they're all food grade, of course, so there's no risk of contamination of the material themselves. Very often, these are blue in color as well, and that's in case some of it gets down into the food. So, for example, if a seal failed and fell down into the food, it'd be easy to spot. And lastly, of course, is the grease that's used in these products. You're going to use the food safe grease in these hygienic designs. So let's get into the products themselves, starting with the EPRF electric cylinders. It is designed with all the criteria I just spoke about in mind. It's designed as a hygienic product, so that means it's got the stainless steel housing, 316L, the highest quality stainless steel. It's using those TPE seals. Everywhere you've got mating components, you've got a seal in there. And then we're using laser engraved labels, right? That's to make sure you don't have a label that can be washed off or can get contaminated. And then we have a variety of mounting options for mounting these actuators into the customer's machine. I'll talk about those a little bit later. So let's talk about the actual range of products here. The EPRF is designed for excellent performance. It's available in 5 sizes. The size of these is based on the diameter of the cylinder. So the smallest size here is a size 36, and that extends all the way up to a size 86 diameter cylinder. And the primary functionality associated with that design, with that diameter, is the maximum feed force. So the smallest one will have the least feed force, and the largest will have the maximum feed force of 12.5 kilonewtons. Similarly, we have stroke lengths that range from 25 millimeters all the way up to 1 meter, and speeds up to 1 meter per second. And so with all of that in mind, there's a huge range of applications that are possible using the EPRF. Let's consider the mounting accessories now. How is the customer going to install the EPRF onto their machine? There are 6 mounting options that I'm going to show you. Crucially, when you are ordering the actuator, most of the time when you buy an actuator, you can order the accessories after the fact and then install them yourself. But because the concern with these is you want them to be IP69K and washdown, we install the accessories at the time of ordering. So these have to be selected when you order it, and that way they get installed on the actuator and just guaranteed to be IP69K. So let's get into these. The first two are M1 and M2 options. These are flange mount options, and it's either with a threaded hole, so you can see I've got 4 threaded holes here on this flange, or with through holes, right? So the threaded holes, going back to the hygienic design principles, these are not through holes, right? Because if they were through holes, then you would have exposure from this side. The idea is that you're taking a bolt from this side of the actuator, mounting it through the machine, and it goes threaded into here, and then you have this seal here that keeps any kind of exposure into that interface with the machine, keeps it clean. With the through holes, you can now mount from the other side. So you have your screws coming through this side, and then the machine will have the threaded holes, and it screws into the threaded holes through these through holes here. For both of these mounting options, these are intended for vertical mounting, right? Because you're only mounting the front flange of the actuator, and then the rest of it would extend off, so you'd have a really heavy cantilever load. So these are really meant for vertical applications. The next option is the M3, and this is with foot mounts. And so what you can see here is we have this foot mount here on the front and here on the back. And these can be mounted in any orientation. These are through holes designed so that you run a screw through this, and it goes into the machine, and everything is sealed very nicely. The next option is a trunnion mount option. And so the idea with this one is that you have this trunnion mount back here, and it gets mounted in the machine, and now this whole actuator can actually move around that rotation point, right? So if you're pushing and pulling a load and that's actually shifting in space, well, this can accommodate that. Crucially, we don't provide the trunnion supports. This really has to be designed into the machine in such a way that it's guaranteed to be washdown. And so the customer has to design that into their machine. The last two options, the M5 and the M6, these are a combination of the other the other 4 mounting options. And so here with M5, we combine the M1, which is the threaded front flange, with a rear foot mount, which you can see back here. And then the M6 option combines the through holes on the front flange with the foot mounts in the rear. And this can be mounted in any orientation. Next, let's take a look at the motors. So these are 3-phase servo motors. Like the EPRF, they are designed with stainless steel housing, high-grade stainless steel, 316L. They have a variety of seals available for them. So we're using TPU, VMQ, as well as HNBR seals in order to make sure that this motor is completely sealed from the environment. Same thing as the electric cylinders. We have a laser engraved label, so it can't fall off, it won't contaminate the environment it's in. There's an optional holding brake for this, so if you're using these motors with a vertical actuator, they can be used to hold that load when they're powered off. And then we have 2 options for the shaft. The default is a smooth shaft, and then the other option is a optional keyway or a feather key option here. The motor range consists of 4 sizes. We go from a diameter of 68 millimeters, that's across the outer diameter, all the way up to 138 millimeters in the largest size. Within this range, there's 2 lengths per size, so that means if you need additional torque from the motor, from that same size, there are two options there. The longer one has more torque. These are designed for use with three-phase servo drives, so that means they have high voltage windings. You can, of course, use them with single-phase servo drives. They'll just be slower because the voltages will be lower on a single-phase drive. They include a multi-turn absolute encoder. That means there's no homing required during operation. You'll do a single homing during commissioning, and then you don't have to home these motors again afterwards. That's especially useful when it's coupled with a linear actuator, where once you know where your zero position is, now you can just power it up and it runs without any homing required. And so if you combine all of these sizes and the stack lengths with or without the optional brake, there's a total of 32 variants available. So again, just like with the electric actuators, there are a wide range of applications possible with this range of motors. Next, let's consider how we mount the motor and the actuator together. For our actuator motor combinations, we have the axial kits available as well as the reverse parallel kits available. Let's take a closer look at those. Both the axial kit as well as the parallel kit are using a 316L stainless steel housing, and as well as all the fasteners. And you can see on these fasteners, they have that nice blue seal. So all of this is really designed with hygienic design in mind. They also include a breathing port, which if we can just take a step back to think about why we need a breathing port. So every time you use an electric cylinder, the piston rod is extending and retracting, and when it extends, it's basically the piston rod is moving out of the actuator and it's creating a partial vacuum inside of that actuator. So it's creating a pressure reduction. And when that happens, there's the possibility for air to try to move in and out of the actuator. And so what you can do is you define a breathing port on that actuator. In this case, we're putting that breathing port on the axial kit and on the parallel kit instead. And so that way, when the actuator is mounted onto this axial kit or onto this parallel kit, it allows the air to flow through the actuator and out through a fitting. So the idea is you would take this screw out, replace it with a fitting, run some tubing back to a clean area, and now the actuator can breathe. 2 points to make about this breathing port in particular. The reason we do this, so normally the way we do this is we put the breathing port directly on the actuator. So if you go and look at some of our other electric cylinders, the breathing port is designed into the actuator. For the EPRF, the electric cylinder, we found that it was actually, we could improve the manufacturing process and reduce the costs if we designed it by putting the breathing port on the motor mounting kit. No big deal there. Very nice. The one key thing to keep in mind is if you buy the electric cylinder and then use it with a third-party motor and you don't get the motor mounting kit from Festo, then you need to account for that breathing port somewhere. So that has to be part of the design. We do offer a range of axial kits for third-party motors, so do check those out if you're using a third-party motor. Just be aware of that. And then the last point I want to make is that in general, your go-to choice for motor mounting kit, you should always lean towards the axial kit. And there's two reasons for this: the lower price and easier installation. And both of these have to do with the number of components that are built into these motor mounting kits. It's very simple design for an axial kit, and so you have fewer components, and so that means it's just going to be easier to install and also lower price. So just keep that in mind when you're choosing which one to use. Basically, you only want to use a parallel kit when you have a space constraint and you need that motor to be mounted alongside of the actuator. The next component I want to talk about is the motor cables. So these cables are a food grade cable with a hygienic design. So that means they are IP69K Washdown ready. We offer these in 3 fixed lengths: 2.5 meters, 5 meters, and 10 meters, as well as custom lengths. So it can be ordered anywhere from a 0.5 meter cable all the way up to 30 meters. Inside of this cable is a pressure equalization tube, right? So that's what you can see here. It's a little hard to see here. There's a white tube here as well. And so the idea is just like I was talking about with the electric cylinder, we need to allow the motor to breathe. Now, the reason we need to allow the motor to breathe is a little different. The main difference is that the motor has swings in temperature, right? So when you operate that motor, it can actually get very warm. And so you'll build up pressure internally if you don't have a way to let the pressure equalize. The other aspect is the cool down, right? So if you're doing a wash down on a motor that was just in use, well, you're taking it from a very warm state to potentially quite cool, right? Depending on the temperature of the water you're using. And so if we consider the heating and the cooling process, well, that can create either a pressure increase inside the motor or a pressure decrease, and that can cause potentially it can cause the motor to want to pull dirt in from the outside through the seals or to push dirt or oil out of that motor to the outside. And so by running this tube from the motor through the cable back into the control cabinet, we give this motor a way to breathe essentially. And so you don't get these pressure buildups that could potentially cause, the motor to expel dirt or to, pull dirt into it. So when you take all of these components together, the electric cylinder, the motor mounting kit, and the cable, you can create a complete hygienic solution once you add the Festo servo drive. And in this case, we've got our Festo multi-protocol CMMT-AS three-phase servo drives. And so it's a multi-protocol servo drive, meaning that you order it and you configure it for Ethernet IP, PROFINET, EtherCAT, or Modbus when you're commissioning the drive, which is very nice if you're using it with different PLCs or motion controllers. And this is also very easy to integrate across a wide range of motion controllers or PLCs because we offer, for example, add-on instructions for use with Rockwell PLCs, as well as function blocks for other third-party PLCs like Siemens, Beckhoff, Omron, and so on. And then, of course, you can use our own motion controller or PLC with our servo drives, and we, of course, support function blocks with our controllers as well. So complete servo solution, all from Festo. Next, let's talk about some of the applications where you would consider using these types of products. So there's a wide range in the food industry. This is a product designed for the food industry. So places like baking applications, beverage filling, kitchen automation, as well as food handling, right? So any kind of like meat processing, fish processing, cheese processing, right? This could be something, this could be moving the product around through a machine. This could be cutting the product, so engaging a knife. If we go beyond food, there are also a wide range of applications that are possible. We're already seeing a multitude of these. So any kind of corrosive environment, especially places where you've got like salt water or high acidity, things that you'd find in a food application as well. These are places where maybe you need to wash down the actuator, and these are really well designed for those applications. We've had customers using them in the pharmaceutical industry, in freezers, in car wash applications. They can be used in battery manufacturing. And then for really harsh environments like pulp and paper or mining applications, this is also a great fit in those kinds of environments. When it comes to sizing and selection, so if you know Festo servo drives or Festo actuators, then you know we have a tool called electric motion sizing, and it's an online tool where you input your application information and then you're able to do a sizing directly on the website, build a bill of materials, and then order it directly on there. So I'm gonna skip through this section because what I'll do is at the end of this presentation, I'll go on the website and we'll actually do a sizing together. And so we don't need to cover these details here. The one thing I will point out is that Festo doesn't offer stainless steel gearboxes. So if you're doing a rotary application, just be aware that we are compatible with Neugaard HLA gearboxes, for example, and then within our sizing tool, we have a template that makes it possible to size our motors and drives with a third-party gear. You would just specify, the details about that gearbox. Stocking and delivery of these. So let's consider the EPRF cylinders and the motor mounting kits first. All of these, the electric cylinders and the kits, are made to order in our factory in Germany. So that means there's no stock of these readily available. In terms of delivery, we still offer quite quick turnaround. So we offer delivery in 4 to 6 weeks, which is still, when you look at the competitive market out there, it's still quite good. When we look at the motors themselves, we do stock most of these in our factory in Mason, Ohio. And so that means you're going to have very fast delivery. It'll ship in one day and be delivered typically within a few days. That includes all sizes, all lengths, with and without the holding brake. The only exception is the optional keyway. So if you order this with the smooth shaft, we have those in stock. If you order it with the keyway, then those are made to order. And like the actuators and the motor mounting kits, they typically deliver in 4 to 6 weeks. And then lastly, the motor cables. With the fixed lengths, 2.5 meters, 5 meters, and 10 meters, we stock those in our factory in Mason, Ohio. And then if you want a custom length, anywhere between 0.5 meter all the way up to 30 meters, those are typically made to order and delivered in 4 to 6 weeks. So take the next step. We've got brochures, we've got catalogs. I have provided links in the description below. So take a look at those and see if this product is a good fit for your application. Before we go to the sizing, which I'll do at the end, I just want to point out some stuff outside of the scope of the electric cylinders and the servo motors, right? And so what does Festo have to offer in the washdown space? And the answer to that question is actually we have quite a lot to offer, right? We have valves to use with pneumatic cylinders. We have fittings and tubing to use with both of those. We have pinch valves, which can be used in process applications. And we have these soft grippers in a range of sizes and options. So there's different number of fingers and different sizes of these grippers, and they're completely food grade and really well suited for picking up and placing food items, right? So check these out if you have other applications in mind that go beyond what we can do with electric cylinders and servo motors. So I'm still going to, after this, I'm going to continue with a sizing application. So definitely come with me to that. If you aren't going to watch the sizing portion, thank you very much for your time. I appreciate you watching this video. And let's go to a sizing. Okay, so here's our website. And I'm just going to go to our engineering tools. And this is where we have all of our sizing software, including our electric motion sizing. For this example, we're going to do a linear movement, but if you were just sizing the servo motor and drive, then you would use a rotary movement template. So let's go into linear movement. Here we have a variety of templates depending on our application. And so we're going to use this general linear load case. I scroll down and I'm going to select my actuator type as an electric cylinder. Click apply. Depending on what our application is, we're going to select a mounting position that corresponds to the direction the cylinder is pointing. In this case, 0 corresponds to horizontal, and so I'm going to keep that for this application I'm sizing. I come down here, and this is my motion profile table. Right now I've got 2 movements in here, 1 to 200 millimeters, and then back to 0 millimeters, my starting position. We can just, for the sake of sizing, let's say we're sizing a 200 millimeter stroke application, and our payload, let's say it's 20 kilograms. That can be something we're moving a cutter, right? And we're engaging that cutter into something like cheese, maybe, or some other product that we're cutting. So my payload both to move out and to come back is 20 kilograms. If I had any restrictions on my speeds or accelerations, I would enter them here. Let's just say I only have a restriction on my cycle time. I want to do this in under 2 seconds. And then at the end of my movement, I'll pause for 1 second. And then retracting that is back 2 seconds travel time, and I'll pause again for another second. Under this advanced filters menu, we have a bunch of filters we can use. So I already know this is going to be using a 3-phase servo drive. So I'm going to deselect the single phase as well as our DC servo drives, and we're just going to consider our 3-phase servo drives. Let's make this 480 volts, which is pretty typical. And then, so this is my servo drive column here, my motor column here, and then my actuator column here. So under the motor column, I'm going to want to select EMMH. I already know I want to use the stainless steel version, so I'm just going to eliminate the EMMT servo motors. And then I'm going to come down here and select my cable length. Let's make it 5 meters. Now I need to get my calculate guide load. I have to select no. And this is because, as you noticed in the video, I didn't present a external guide option for the electric cylinders. And we are coming out with that in 2027, but at the moment we don't have that available. And so I have to select no for the external guiding, and then it'll eliminate guided options, which we don't have for this actuator. And I think that is sufficient to find a solution. So I'll click continue. And down here you can see I've got a solution. It's got our CMMT-AS 3-phase servo drive. We've got our servo motor. It's a size 68 servo motor. And then we have our electric cylinder. It is the size 36, 200 millimeters. And voila, I have found a solution. If I want to order the solution, I can go to the Bill of Materials tab. I can potentially add accessories into here. The one thing I will add to this section is right now, remember I talked about the mounting options? Right now, the default mounting option is always set to the M1 mounting option. If I want to have a different mounting option, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to add this to my basket, and I'm going to come into this type code, and I'm going to modify it for the mounting option I want. So for example, if I wanted the foot mounts, I would change this to the M3, and then I would order that instead. You can also copy all of this to the clipboard and paste it into an Excel spreadsheet, for example, if you were going to save this for a later order. If you're using this with a specific PLC, for example, with Rockwell, you can come in here and you can find the function blocks for Rockwell, the add-on instructions, as well as links to the commissioning software and the EDS file. And that's a sizing. So thank you again for watching our video, and have a great day.